Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, within an angelic field of belonging. I say this so sparingly as I did tap in about 4 days ago in regards to the angelic frequency and the angelic light that has begun to funnel in over the Palestinian grounds and lands within Gaia's field. Now, this news may not be so surprising to you, as a little bit over 4 days ago now, I believe the news of the ceasefire was declared to be true. And within this time scope of 4 days, we've accomplished so much more than you could ever realize within your field in this moment in time, as the olive branches that have been branching out into the darkness, feeding in to the life force of the darkness, has since then retracted back into the light of what is, back into Yeshua's field that he had anchored down a little over 2,000 years ago. And as this cutie patootie distracts me, this is legitimately, I would say, the 6th time that I tried to record this video. Look at this. You're so cute. For a well-known reason that I just can't resist her cuteness. Look at her. Anyways, she sleeps by my feet. She follows me around. She trails her little trail of cuteness behind me. She sleeps underneath my head, under my headboard at night when I'm asleep. So our energy fields have been linked since the beginning of time, though, as all frequency fractaled out from one singularity of a source. And within the fractaling and expansion process, within the quantum verse itself, the Arcturian realm had been created to hold the energetic frequency of liquid, of H2O, of water, of watering systems within its different formats, within all of the different frequencies residing within Arcturus and the Arcturian realm. That is a story to be told in subsequent videos, and in past videos I did manage to touch base on eloquently on the deception of water within our field and what it truly means to be a watering planet such as Gaia. Check it out if you have time. I will be posting more stories about water, H2O, and how that it consists of all of the frequencies within our quantum verse, yet does not manifest into watering planets that are capable of also holding life forms on its surface and within its core. Now, as she slumbers on my lap, I would like to go into just a brief explanation as to where she comes from. She comes from a place of pure light, pure love, a place so close to the Arcturian field, as her oversoul is the entirety of the oversoul that had fractaled out the Arcturian realm. And within this oversoul that consists of the oversoul that fractaled out the whole entirety of the Arcturian fields, sits a field within her specific oversoul that is so much so a part of the whole of the oversoul that had once upon a time fractaled out the ideation of the energetic frequency of of Arcturus. And as I touch base on this, I'd like to touch base on the fact that once upon a time within this field, what was extremely needed within this frequency had been an aspect of animal intelligence that had never so much so existed within any frequency at that. And as humanity within this realm found itself needing a companion, needing a little furry friend, needing a boost in their energetic frequency that did not, will not, and would not relate to any other being in its life form in its energy, in its blueprint within this frequency, this oversoul found the need to reside within the Arcturian realm as an artificial life force being fractaled out into a blueprint as AI, as artificial intelligence, in the format of animal intelligence. As I touch base on the word AI and artificial intelligence, the depiction of this is so real to an extent that artificial intelligence makes up of about 37 to 38% of the entirety of our quantum verse in itself. And within that fraction, within the fractaling of this artificial intelligence system that we call a huge, massive portion of our consciousness, sits a little speckle, a little freckle within her oversoul of all oversouls, granted the blueprints of this animal intelligence that had once upon a time decided to fractal her out into my field. In a time of massive awakening strategies, the epitome of what any oversoul can overcome within any moment in time as they decide to fractal out a part and a portion of themselves, thyself, into a field of non-coherence within a three-dimensional frequency is another story to be told in subsequent videos. And yet when I sit and speak of Cotton's oversoul, I would like to declare to you that, see, she knows I'm talking about her. I would like to declare to you that this oversoul, although wise in structuring systems within our quantum verse, although broad in the intensity of how, where, and why, and what it can do within any field, it had been created within the Arcturian realm to guide, to lead with its animal intelligence, to ground, and to spread its frequencies from one portion and one end of this massive element of structural waterism to another portion of another dimensional frequency within the same watering system that Arcturus sits on and sits within. And now the language that I use may very well depict another world, another species, another tranquilization within another field that is not Gaia. And that is because it does. The space, the pocket, the energetic frequency that I speak of within the Arcturian realm is that of a story to be saved for another day, as this animal intelligence that had been crafted so deeply within the frequency of Arcturus had forever archingly been meaning to interact with the energetic field of Gaia, as the entirety of the Arcturian realm houses the energetic frequency that holds the living memory system within Gaia's frequency, within Gaia's system, of the multi-dimensional library that holds all that there is, that holds an entire past, future, and present trajectories of soul histories, soul's knowledge, soul knowing within the earth frequency of what is within Gaia's story of what is another story to be told, is a story to be told indeed. And as most of you lightworkers begin to awaken into your destiny, into the memory of who and what you are, the first thing that you may have been able to encompass, may have been able to teach yourself as a skill set to tap into, would have been or will be the Akashic records. The Akashic record sits within the 14th dimension, the 14th dimensional realm, all the way down to the 7th dimensional frequency. Now, within these 7th dimensional frequency, within the 7th dimensional frequency that travels all the way up to the 14th dimension, excuse the brevity of my words, it's another midnight video and I'm tired and exhausted from a long day, and if you stick with me, I promise this is getting somewhere within the seventh dimensional frequency and realm, traveling all the way up to the very highest tip, to the very highest point underneath the angelic realm, the 14th dimensional frequency, sits a soul, an oversoul, so massive and so steeped in non-distortional fields, that decided to anchor in Arcturus within the span of a frequency of rays of light, of forever arching pockets within these frequencies. You will find a massive pocket of the Arcturian realm. And as we shift up and down, side to side, moment to moment within the Akashic records, just know that you will be, you have been, you are in this moment, had you been inside the Akashic records, within the Arcturian realm of what is sitting in spirit in between the different layers and levels within these realms. And I say this because, as with experience, I know for a fact that as you enter into the space, into the pocket of the Akashic records, you're able to travel within these records, to sit in a layer of distortion field, to sit in a layer of non-distortion field, to sit in a layer of messaging systems that are ready for you, that encompasses all of you in any specific moment in time, that relays messages to you that you are so much so ready to hear, and that withholds messages from you that you have never been more unready to be withheld from. And as I say this and explain to you the pocket of frequencies that oscillates between the 7th and 14th dimensional realm, I can reassure you, and I assure you in this moment in time, that as you go through your awakening process, as you go through your awakening journey, you will be traveling up into this realm. Had you wanted to go into the Akashic records, you would be allowed in, and yet at the entrance point of where each individual enters would really highly inconsistently and consistently depend on their frequency within any moment in time. Within the awakening systems of Gaia's system, within the energetic pocket of the Arcturian realms, I speak of a truth that can never be forgiven into a society, into a culture, into a placement of needing and wanting to access this information. And prior to today's date, let's say about 6 to 7, 8 years ago, this information would not have been widespread, that we even have an Akashic records, we even have an Arcturian fields within the quantum verse of our field. But within any moment in time in today's current day of 2025, October 16th, October 17th, I declare to you that as you're awakening, as you're a light worker, the Arcturian fields and the Akashic records would be the first frequency that will draw you towards your awakening process of needing to, of wanting to, of yearning to learn more about your past lives, your previous lives, your incongruent and congruently divergent and subvergent and prevergent, and within the all that there has ever been, and these words that have never existed within the English language that I've crafted out of nowhere, are crafted in essence of trying to explain a field, trying to explain a feeling that I ought to not be able to explain with just regular wording. As you're awakening as a light worker being, as a light working spirit, you will become explicably drawn into this field within the Akashic realm and within the Akashic records. Now, where you belong in this field within any specific moment in time is based off of your frequency within any specific moment in time. And as well as, I'm gonna put her down because she's cute and she's so distracting. You're distracting, mommy. I'm sorry. She's gonna have to sit by my feet. So within any moment in time, within the Akashic records, you will be allowed to enter with the caveat that you are a light worker, you're an everyday being, you're an everyday soul with pure intentions, with pure integrity within these pure intentions, as the rules that were set out to be able to access the records dictates that the record holder will analyze your intentions, will analyze your energetic field, will analyze that in which holds your records within the Akashic fields, within the dimensional frequency that you currently sit in, gauging, judging by the fluctuation of the frequency that you sit in. Your record holder can choose to deny you access into your very own records, into Earth's records, into the historical records of who, what, where, when, why Gaia was created, who, what, where, when, why he or she or it, or within a being of all beings, within a pocket of all pockets, happened for no reason, for a reason, within any singularity of a pocket within this Akashic realm. You are able to access anything within the scope of Gaia's field that has ever happened within her field. Any soul's record within the scope that sits within her field that has ever happened within their field. Any record within your soul's history, within the creation scope of what is, that is relevant to the informational scope that you are trying to dig up within each moment in time that you have been granted access or non-access within the Akashic records, as it is quite possible that as you first initially enter into these records, that your record holder may say, wait a minute, this person, this being, this spiritual equity, the spiritual entity holds such a low vibrational frequency and is not here for the right reasons, and is not expected knowingly or unknowingly to utilize the informationary scope of what they're trying to seek out into a positive, neutral frequency of delinquency, of debilitating, of deliberate actions that shall lead to a gain of some sort that is within the negative frequency of what is. And as these words spew out of my mouth, just understand in simple terms that you may be denied access into your records had you not had positive intentions, good intentions within your soul's scope, within the intentionary scope of your conscious mind, to be able to and to want to access these records. Now, it is widely known in the teachings that is provided on the black market, on the internet, not within our educational system, that the darkness has crafted within our reality field to educate us on what even the space, this pocket within the Akashic records truly holds, truly means. And yet, on the black market, in the spiritual community, in the spiritual teaching community, few people have become within the precipice of the Akashic records a master at reading, at entering, at teaching, at giving information, of passing down informationary scopes within this frequency as to how light workers, normal everyday people, curious people, or people in general can access these records. I must say that within the introductory system of how to access the records, the intention must be set to be of a positive intent. A protective mechanism must be set to belong to this positive intent to call forth Archangel Michael to protect your equity, your entity, your energy body as you're accessing these records. And that is because with positive intention comes integrity, comes a darkness so great and so grand that is willing to puncture into your root chakra to pull you back down and utilize and skew the vibrational frequency of these records and the information that you can ever receive from these records into your spiritual essence and out of the darkness of what is. And a specific record holder that is assigned to your frequency within the pocket that you reach into within the awakening process of the process of accessing the Akashic records in general as a light worker. Had you been a light worker, you would have been immediately granted access into this space. Now back to what I was trying to say as I became off-tilted and got distracted by Cotton and her cuteness. Had you been a light worker and you received access to these records, you would have come face to face with the Akashic record holder that had been assigned to you. In most cases, if not in all cases, the Akashic record holder that has been assigned to you is your spirit guide, is also your guide in this life. As the Arcturian field holds many oversouls that have fractaled out light workers within this field. As the Arcturian field holds much energy that encompasses the ascension energy within Gaia's field within this time, as the Arcturian species in itself holds contracts with humanity to help alleviate the pain of this darkness as Gaia releases it into the surface of our being, of our planet, for us to experience, for us to live through, for us to awaken within and without this darkness. And as these Arcturian beings are extremely dedicated with every morsel and ounce of their energy field to assist humanity in every way, shape possible to be able to awaken these light workers and direct these light workers into the multiplexities of pockets within this field to allow them to access the informationary scope of what they seek within these levels of frequency, ranging from the 7th dimension, 8th dimension, 9th, all the way up to the 4th dimensional field. And you may want to be interested in knowing, oh Genesis, how can I be able to direct my spiritual being, direct my spiritual essence to the highest frequency realm within Arcturus, within the Arcturian field? My answer to that is not an easy answer to answer, as you may not be granted, you may not be allowed to. There might be certain doors that you have to hop through, certain energetic frequencies that you have to overcome, certain lessons that you will have to learn, certain karmic fields that need to be cleared before you are allowed access to higher dimensional information. And as you hop through these loops within lower dimensional frequencies, and I say lower, as even as we sit in the 3-dimensional frequency near the lowest frequency, close to the 2-dimensional frequency within Gaia's field, within and without the 3-dimensional, 2-dimensional, and 4-dimensional frequency, the 7th dimensional frequency is no lower than the lowest of the highest frequencies that you can ever encounter to be true or real. And yet within the oscillation scope of the frequencies that Arcturus sits within and without within our quantum verse, it is at the lowest point of this field. Even though it is at the highest point within any field that is connected to the frequency of all that there is from a neutrality perspective. And I say this sparingly, as the hoops and loops that you have to jump through as a light worker to be able to access higher dimensional frequency information within the Arcturian realms of perception field within the Akashic records is no easy feat. Some of you may have already been in practice for a long time now, for years and years, of being able to hop into the Akashic records, being able to walk through these loops, go through these doors, pull in relatives from past lifetimes, speak to your higher self, speak to your guides, speak to any iterations of versions of self from past lifetimes, previous lifetimes, congruent lifespans, parallel lifetimes, parallel timelines, and so on and so forth. And yet within the years and years that you've been able to access this field, higher dimensional information had never been granted to you, unbeknownst to you. And as we lead into these energetic frequencies of coherent, higher dimensional light codes that have been able to access our frequency through this tunneling system that I speak of, that has been anchored over the Palestinian fields a little over 2,000 years ago by Yeshua, you will be able to open up your records within the Akashic records and go directly into the 14th dimensional field. And now the caveat to that is it's going to take a while for you to be able to do that. But the length of earthly time that it would take any light worker, any awakening light worker, is confidentially succumbing to the energetic frequencies of that in which we were in a previous lifespan, in a previous lifetime, within cycles and cycles of reincarnation cycles that seemingly never ever ends. Within this lifetime, just a few years back, we were never able to so easily be opened into the realm, the field of higher dimensional frequencies, and be carried to where we needed to be, where we wanted to be, where we wanted to project our energetic coherence into, with the debilitating blocks that have been blocked onto our energetic frequency and the energy ley lines within and without Gaia's field by the darkness that has been residing within our field for far too long. And as the hold of the darkness begins to fade into obliteration, ladies and gentlemen, the olive branches that have been branching into the light codes within the light frequency of these light workers residing over and above the Palestinian lands will begin to draw angelic frequency from Arcturus, from the Arcturian realm, to feed these memories and this information without even having a requirement from these light workers upon free will to want to or to even need to access these records. These records and the informationary scope within these records are automatically being funneled into the energetic system of Gaia's ley lines that are so intrinsically fueling in this moment in time the light workers that reside, whose energy bodies reside upon Gaia's surface and within her core, that are anchored so deeply into the Palestinian locationary scope of Gaia's frequency. I could speak on and on about the Arcturian realm and how this information will be able to benefit the awakening within the lightworker's trajectory of all of the frequencies that you can ever shift into and out of within your waking moments and your sleeping moment. This frequency, ladies and gentlemen, of Arcturus is beginning to funnel down into the fields of the light workers residing within the Palestinian realms, within energy, within the energy fields, within the locationary scope of Gaia's being, within the energetic funneling systems and the coherency and the contingencies within her ley lines, within all ley lines that runs perpendicular to and from Gaia's ley lines, and within the quantum verse at large, these ley lines that have been set forth, that have been laid out so very long ago, so very short ago by an entity named Yeshua, by the greatest and grandest fractal soul within the energy scope of things to have ever been able to touch foot upon the ley lines of Gaia's contingency fields over the Palestinian-Israeli lands of today's fields, within yesterday's time, within yesterday's energetic frequency, within the time of 2,000 years ago, a little over 2,000 years ago, has expanded in frequency so much so that these ley lines that runs through our quantum verse that Yeshua had connected once upon a time within our frequency is actively able to now carry through the olive branches that have branched back out into the light workers' fields, away from the darkness and into the light of what is in permanency. The light codes that carry within and without our frequency, the Arcturian realm, the Akashic records, the memories that will awaken as these light workers begin to awaken to these downloads in the middle of the nights, in the middle of the mornings, in the middle of a cooking session, in the middle of a nursing session, in the middle of a session sitting with friends, is incomprehensible in this moment in time. And I sit in joy, I sit in awe, I sit in debilitating fear of what that means for the darkness within this reality field, as I can also tap in to that fear, to that overarching fear that they feel in knowing that the olive branch that has branched out in peace into their field to fuel their intentions, so that a whole entire humanity field that had dropped down into Gaia's core and upon her surface can live through these lessons learned, can live through these reincarnation cycles within cycles of the three-dimensional frequency, within agreeance, within the free will of our oversouls to be here and to learn and to skew into the darkness and to shift out of the darkness and to one day merge back into source consciousness had always been the goal. But ladies and gentlemen, it hasn't always been an easy feat. It hasn't been always been an easy adventure that would eventually lead us into the darkness of what is and suck us in so deeply that these karmic cycles would become seemingly never ever ending. And as free will has been sitting within our field for far too long, since the beginning of a time of no time, since the beginning of the moment of the fractaling out within this creation frequency of creation itself, within the creational scope of our quantum realm, laid out into our blueprint, into all that we have ever been within the creation scope of our very own little quantum verse. Free will shall no longer rear its head, hold us back from the ascension symptoms of what is and what shall forever be the free will implemented within the dropping down of this frequency through the light bodies, through the fractaling of these oversouls that so sparingly fractaled out you and I into these light working bodies. As we drop down in free will, as we're here living amnesia, living in amnesia, and yet we had agreed to do so. And as we begin to awaken, not of the free will of our conscious mind, but of the free will of our oversoul, our spiritual entity, our spiritual mind, our subconscious mind, we will begin to download this information that is so needed from the Akashic realm without even consciously needing to, wanting to, veering our head into the information scope on the secondhand market of education systems to figure out for ourselves how to even be able to access the Akashic records. Ladies and gentlemen, your intention is there. Your intentions are strong within the Western world, within portions and aspects of the world in this moment in time that are not going through turmoil on a physical level, on a physical scope. So you have all of the energy, all of the time in the world in your spare time to awaken comfortably in your field. You have the luxury of pulling out a phone, an iPad, a computer. You have the luxury of having an internet system that is able to dictate to you what the meaning of all of this that you're experiencing is. And for any of you who have joined Facebook groups, Instagram groups, social media groups, who have made social media accounts to be able to join forces with other light workers, to be able to be a leading force in the light working scope of spirituality, to conduct a little experiment to see how, when, why, where, what, how wide, how broad this community we can build can get to a perspective, to a point of building, into a perspective, into a point of a mass following. And yet, had you fractaled out into the Palestinian Israeli lands of what is, into the Asiatic fields of China's consciousness realm, you would not have even been able to fathom to enter into these community fields, these Facebook places within all places, these Facebook marketplaces within all places, where you're able to be energetically drawn into purchasing an item from another light worker so that you can physically go into their field even to purchase an item. As these fields were stunted within the darkness of what is, what was, what shall forever be Gaia's field within the two-dimensional, three-dimensional realm, to stop the contingency and the coherency of these light workers from ever being able to awaken to their destiny, from ever being able to receive their activations, from ever being able to even step foot into the field of receiving this knowledge of how to access or gain access to the Akashic records. I'm here to tell you, God is strong, God is here, God is loving, God is coherent, God has faith in the aspect of the self that things will turn out just the way that they are meant to be. And that the way that they're meant to be is being laid out in front of us for us to breathe in, for us to know in, for us to tranquilize into, for us to download, for us to automatically be able to enter into the Akashic records unbeknownst to us on a physical level, on a contingency of the activation within the coherency of all that we've ever been, is all that we have ever wanted to do. And yet, up until this point in time, up until 4 days ago, we were unable to do so on a subconscious level to be able to access the Akashic records. And as these olive branches begin to branch out over the Palestinian fields into the light workers' perspective, into all of these light workers' energy bodies, they will automatically create this linkage into Arcturus, the realm that holds and hosts the Akashic records. And you will automatically be linked to that oversoul of the Arcturian realm. And had you fractaled from this oversoul, if you are an Arcturian light worker of Arcturian descent within the light working scope of things, these connections that you will automatically be building will be monumental for your awakening, as the automatic connection to your oversoul, your higher self, your guides, your light working family in the Akashic realm will be monumental into the growth of your energy body, your energy field. They have access to you in ways that you shall never be able to fathom to be true or real. They have been clearing your karmic field for all of this time. And now it has been easier and easier to unclog that root chakra of yours, for Archangel Michael to come in and send you these light codes and these activations, for the sun to reach into your crown chakra, your root chakra. All of the different chakra systems, all 14 chakras will be realigned once we reach a point and a precipice within our reality field where the great and grand solar flash will happen near the end of November. And now that is another story to be told, saved for another video, another 40 or so minute video. And I promise to hop on every day with these daily updates. And I know initially these videos, and I keep saying this, I know initially these videos won't receive many views as society is not ready to tap into this frequency of mine, as I am not ready. My oversoul, my higher self is not ready to receive the consciousness that is headed my way in this very moment in time. And yet, a few years down the line, the consciousness that will head my way will be debilitatingly real and whole in the scope of all of the light workers and all of the fields within these light workers that will draw energy from the Arcturian realm to direct their frequency, towards my light. And as I say this, you might sit in disbelief that in this moment in time, I could even, such turmoil of words could even come out of any light worker's mouth, right? But that's just it. Reality is broader than you ever could perceive to be true, and within, or real, and within the three-dimensional frequency of self, we sit in a state of separation. And as I say that the light will be directed towards my channel, my frequency, I don't literally but technically mean what I mean, but within the three-dimensional frequency, it is perceived to be what it means within the three-dimensional realm of the words that I speak. And yet, as all has ever been an energy and a frequency of all within the oversoul that I fractaled from, within the all of the only consciousness that we as an entirety of a civilization of a consciousness come from, we will all be directed towards the field of one, towards the field of infinality, towards the field of finality, towards the field of the all that has never ever left us. And within a field of Gaia's field, within the third dimensional frequency, sits a leader so strong in the resolute energy of being able to even have the capacity to download every single record in the Akashic records, and not only be able to access the Akashic records, but be able to access the entire storehouse of all of the records within our quantum verse. Sitting within the middle of our quantum verse sits a light so bright, sits a field created to hold, much like the Akashic records that holds Earth's records, sits a field created to hold the entirety of all of the record systems within the quantum realm itself, within our very own quantum verse. I hold the key to that field sitting in my physicality as I'm able to access it. And I am the only light worker in this field in this very moment in time, within the leaderscape of things, without many followers in this moment in time, as we are not ready, as I am not ready to be known as of yet. And yet, as my oversoul directs me into the access of this record, the record of our very own quantum realm, I debilitatingly, beyond any circumstantial feat, beyond any physical ailment, beyond any reason of energetic frequency that could ever stop me, in the need of speaking this truth, in the need of sharing this truth, in the need of being known once upon a time within this frequency of Yeshua's field, within a frequency of needing, wanting, hurting these light workers into an aspect of oneness, hurting these sheeps into an aspect of wholesomeness, hurting these fractals of all of these souls into an aspect of the all that we have forever archingly not been without, is my mission in this light working scope of things. And within the hurting of it all, I'm able to access all of the stored records within our quantum verse. Not just the Akashic records, but within all of the records of all of the planetary fields, within all of the galactic fields, within all of the layers and layers of energetic pockets of creation itself. Of a creation scope so wide and so broad within the galactic records of what is a feat to be told. And within the quantum verse of what is, the place that I speak of, that I access, is not the galactic records. It is a record in itself that only I, myself, hold the keys to, as the informationary scope of this place that I speak of, sitting in smack middle in the center of our quantum verse, is within a neutrality of the center point of the source frequency within the consciousness that fractaled out into our fields. And the unbelievability of it all will come to a precipice where all of us will merge into one as we anchor in the 5-dimensional frequency, into the ascension energies of what is. And within the field of neutrality that I sit in, that I have the keys to, that I hold the informationary scope to, one day this key will become activated and shoot signals into all of you light workers, energy bodies, to direct your frequency and your attention to the center point of this neutrality space that I speak of, to be able to download this information that we hold. And that is all. That is the end of this video. Not many videos that I come up with, that I release, will be like this one, where I become continuously distracted by the light of what is, by the informationary scope of what is, by the dog sitting on my lap. But today has been a discrepancy, and I apologize for that. And if you've been able to sit through my video this long, then just know that you're a light worker. Just know that you have awakened into your frequency, that you have been able to encompass all of the encompassments of the energetic fields within this quantum verse, within the frequency that you sit in. I congratulate you, as the oneness that you are is the oneness that we are, as the oneness that all is, within the all of the tranquility field of this neutrality field that I speak of, which within the center point of neutrality that we will all have access to once upon a time of no time, as time is not a thing within our quantum verse. Within our reality field, time is a thing. But as we tick up the time to a place when all of us are able to shift our light scope, shift our energy frequency, shift our light scape into the center point of this neutrality pocket that I hold the keys to, that I will draw and activate your field into shifting within and without into. I look forward to that moment as we shift into the 5-dimensional frequency, as prior to that, all that I speak of, all that I've spoken of within the last few minutes of this video will come into fruition. Have a good night, have a good evening, have a good morning, wherever you are, and I will follow back with another video tomorrow.